Hey guys, hope you're doing good. My name is Cheyenne. I'm from HZad Education, and today here with another video regarding the IELTS Part 2. I've done a video on this before, but a lot of you were asking how to tackle the Part 2, which I understand is a very difficult part. This is where you're supposed to speak for 2 minutes, and you're given 1 minute of preparation. So the problem that occurs here is we're not interrupted by the examiner. Sometimes it's good if you're interrupted because then you can take a break, right? The responsibility is off you. But in this part, you're not interrupted, so you have to speak on your own for 2 minutes, and you're really tested here because this is the part where you really get exposed. So what happens is in part one, people start off strong. You know, you're motivated, you go in there, and the answers are easy. Part two is where there's a change, and all of a sudden you have to speak by yourself, and it's hard to go on that length. People get nervous, they start talking without breathing, and they mostly feel that they have done a bad job. That attitude carries on towards part three, and people ruin that too. So what we notice with our examiners and with my students as well is whenever they do part one, we're like, okay, we're gonna give them a band 8. As soon as they're done with parts 2 and 3, we're like, okay, 6.5. So that's where majority of the issues happen. There are two solutions. One is maintain a good attitude. Even if you do a bad part 2, make sure for part 3 you have a positive attitude. Think that you're starting fresh and think that you will do a much better job here. Okay, so go with a good attitude in part 3 so you don't ruin it, even if you have ruined part 2. And the second thing is just to do a good part 2 so you feel overall confident. Okay, so we'll talk about how to do a good part 2 today. Let's begin with the rules. So again, you know that you have 1 minute preparation and 2 minutes speaking time. Now in the speaking time, if you speak more than the assigned time, it's okay. If the examiner stops you, it is fine. You will never get your marks deducted. So never think like in CELPIP you have to finish on time, right? In IELTS it's not like that. Just keep talking. Even in parts 1 and 3, if you think you're talking for a lesser amount of time, talk more. More is better in IELTS speaking. Okay, so if the examiners stop you, it's not a problem. Let them stop you. The only time it's a problem is if you haven't answered all the questions. So in 2 minutes, if you're drifting around the topic, not really talking about the actual questions that are written, you will lose marks. So make sure as soon as you start talking, you get into the topic and get the main ideas done. And then if the examiner stops you, it's fine. Okay, so now that we have that clear, let's talk about the minimum length, like how less or what's the minimum level where you can stop. 1.5 minutes. So you can stop anywhere from 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes. There's no stopwatch in the exam, so you have to guess when it's 1.5 minutes. But since you can't, make sure to keep speaking. Make sure to speak for 2 minutes and let the examiner stop you. That's always a better idea. The only issue you might have here is if you make more grammar mistakes as you speak more, and that's a risk you want to take. Trust me, you'll lose more marks if you speak less. And that's the examiners know that you're speaking less so you can avoid all the mistakes you might make. So speak more and fix your grammar while you're preparing. Take a teacher, get our help if you need, and we can help you with that too. Okay, now let's get started with the 1 minute preparation. In this 1 minute preparation, please don't write anything. I highly recommend not to write anything on a paper. When people do that, 8 out of 10 times I have seen they never even use the things they have written on paper. The reason is when you start talking, you are nervous and you have to think on spot for a lot of things. And you don't want that pause where you look at the paper and start speaking, right? That's going to give you an awkward pause in the speaking. So avoid writing on paper. I would say for each question, because for example, I'm going to do a sample question for you guys here. There are here 4 bullet points in front of me, which usually are 3 or 4. So for each bullet point, just think of 1 point. Okay, so there are 4 bullet points, think of 4 points. 1 point, 1 answer for each bullet point. And there's now a debate, okay, so should we answer all the bullet points or should we just focus on the last one? There are different opinions here. Every examiner marks it differently. So if you speak on every bullet point, that's the least risky thing to do. Nobody's going to complain about it. So just have 1 or 2 points for each bullet point. And in the preparation time, you want to think of 1 point per bullet. Don't think of 2 points per bullet because that will be too much for you to remember. So now the minute is done. Now you get started. When you start, you want to use one sentence. For example, what I teach my students is to start by saying there are many and one of them is. Okay, so for example, talk about a website. There are many websites I've been on. One of them is this. Talk about a vacation. There are many places I've gone on for vacation. One of them is this one. So there are many and one of them is a good start to use. For finishing, it's if you want something standard, you can say that's all that I have for you today. You know, that's something that people do in debates and speeches. That's all that I have for you today. It's a good finish. However, if you can, try saying overall or therefore and just rephrase your whole speech in one sentence. Make a concluding sentence that would look nicer. Okay? In the middle, when you're switching between the points, make sure you use good connectors. Furthermore, also, likewise, moreover, accordingly. So connectors also help. They not only help you for the vocab, it also shows you how the flow of topics is. So how you jump from one topic to the other, you say furthermore. The next bullet point, you say moreover. It also helps the examiner understand that you're answering each question if they're marking on that. Okay, so that really helps. And let's do a sample. Let's see how it actually works. So the question I have here, I'm going to put it in the description as well. It's talking about a website where I bought something from. So I'm going to use Amazon. And it says, what is the website, what you bought from it, how satisfied were you, and explain what you liked or disliked about it. So again, I'm going to put this question in the description. And right now I'm going to get started with my answer. So describe a website that you bought. Okay, so there are many websites where I've purchased a lot of items from. One of them is Amazon. Amazon is my go-to website for anything I want to buy for home, for business, or for personal use. The website, if you want the spelling, it's amazon.ca, which is common knowledge nowadays given how popular this website is. In fact, the person who owns this is the richest person in the world, making it a surety that this website is a go-to place for many people just like myself. Moreover, what I bought from this website was a bicycle. I like to, well, I would say I'm an avid fan of riding a bicycle in summers. It's very refreshing. It is something that gives me a thrill. It gives me an exhilarating feeling, which is why Amazon was the right place to buy it from. Another reason I bought it from Amazon was because it was a referral, which made it even more sensible for me to go there and purchase it. Furthermore, about the satisfaction, I can't say enough. Satisfaction levels were through the roof. The delivery time was much later than what actually happened. Because the delivery time was in 2 weeks, I actually ended up receiving it in 1 week. That was impressive. Customer service was top-notch. All my questions were answered, which makes it an overall very satisfying experience. Finally, what I disliked about this website was the prices were not as competitive as with the local stores. That's one area of improvement. Overall, though, this was a great experience. I would highly recommend the same website, amazon.ca, to any of my friends or anyone who's interested in buying potentially anything from household appliances to KitchenAid to yard work and more. They have the best resource to purchase from. Thank you, and that's all that I have for you. Okay, so that's me doing my 2-minute speaking. I think it was 2 minutes. Again, I didn't see the time properly because I'm hoping the examiner will stop me. You guys can see I used a bunch of connecting words. I said furthermore on the other hand and a few more which I can't remember now. I finished with overall. I made a concluding sentence based on whatever I said. I said overall and wrapped up that sentence. And I said thank you, which you don't need to, but I'm assuming I'm running out of time at that point, so I'm going to say thank you just to fill in a few more seconds. I also made sure that with each question, I answered at least 1 or 2 points. So again, each question, I'm putting it in the description so you can see. And I'm doing this to make a good structure. It's easy for me to have a structure, And it's easy to go question by question. Instead of going to question 3, then to question 1, just go question by question, 1 or 2 points per question. It will ensure that you have answered everything. It'll give you a lot of things to talk about, and it will also ensure that you're doing the time. You're meeting your 2 minutes. Okay, finally, with these questions, as I was switching between them, I was using the connectors, like furthermore, moreover. So those are some techniques. I hope this video helps you guys out in figuring out how to do a good IELTS cue card. And if you have any questions, put them in the comments, send me an email. Email is in the description. My website is in the description as well. So feel free to email or ask any questions you have. Subscribe to my channel for more tips and updates, and I'll talk to you guys again really soon. Thank you and take care.